Hi, friends. Happy Thursday, and more importantly, happy Preservation Month. We are here today because we're going to talk about how to rehabilitate, restore, and make your old house dreams come true in the state of Maine with our friends at Maine Preservation. So let me go ahead, and we're going to be talking today with Tara Kelly, who is the executive director. So get ready with your questions, technical assistance, financial incentives. This woman knows it all. She has the answers. Hello, Tara.
Hello, friend.
How are things going today in Yarmouth?
They're good. It's nice and warm out. Finally, spring's happening, I think, a little bit.
Excellent. Does Maine have like a change of seasons, like mud season? We just experienced that in Vermont. Oh, how is it in Maine?
Mud season, I think, is almost over, but I mean, from the thaw, but we never know what will happen after a good rain.
Yeah, not for the faint of heart. Well, I love that you're coming to us from surrounded and just totally swathed in historic vintage wallpaper. The wallpaper at your house is incredible. So thank you for sharing it with everyone today.
Absolutely. This is the best wallpaper in the house, some would say, but there's a lot to choose from, so it's all up to your own taste.
Yeah, exactly. If you want to see the rest of the wallpaper, you're going to have to follow Maine Preservation. Tara will show you with regularity. So now
I think we even sometimes have a feature called Wallpaper Wednesdays.
I like it. I'm following it. I'm into it. Well, before we get into the real like nitty gritty meaty stuff, I really want people who either currently own a historic house, are exploring the possibility of owning a historic home or business of any kind. I really want them to understand the kinds of resources and the support system that Maine Preservation offers statewide. But before we get into that, this weekend, something exciting is happening in Maine. Maybe you can tell us about it.
Sure. So for the first time statewide, we're participating in the Jane's Walk Festival, which is a global celebration of volunteer-led walking conversations in honor of community activist Jane Jacobs. So this year in Maine, we are having, I think, a little more than 20 walks happening across the state from Biddeford to East Machias and a few places in between, Stonington, Lewiston, Ellsworth, Portland, Westbrook, Hallowell, Gardner.
Jane, stop showing off. We get it. You know all the towns and all from all across the state. We get it. You're on it.
Yeah. So it's the roster of walks is available on our website. And basically you just show up and join in the conversation. They're sort of, like I said, they're volunteer-led walks. So it's really just
free,
to prove
right?
that
Free also.
Totally free. That everybody is an expert in their own experience. And so walk leaders, invite you along to share about their passion about place. And then as a participant, you can also share your experience as well. And so it's just a great way to experience Maine. So join us.
Yeah, I hope everybody will. I mean, here on CIRCA, we have had the chance to participate in Jane's Walks with your alma mater, the Municipal Art Society here in New York. We did a walkabout of the Williamsburg Savings Bank, I think 2 or 3 years ago. So they're really special opportunities for people to share interesting spaces, stories that are special to them, that they have an affinity for. And I think that one thing that's especially exciting about them is it's not necessarily just walking something with an expert, but someone who has any kind of connection with it, whatever that personal connection might be.
Yeah, so one of the walks that's happening in Portland this weekend is Imagine Places Here, exploring the surface parking lots of downtown Portland. So it's really about like what could be happening within the community. And then also there's a gargoyle hunt. So just walking along the street, looking for gargoyles in buildings, seeing how many you can count. So again, it's not like necessarily a sort of formal historic tour.
Yeah. Well, if anyone here goes on the gargoyle hunt, please tag me because I want to see what people find, what the variations and things. All right, well, let's get chatting about Maine preservation. It's Preservation Month, and so we want people to know, if you live in Maine, what are the tools available to you and who are the pros on the ground, you and your team, who can help just educate people about what it means to own historic property, what kind of opportunities are available to them. If they feel that there are challenges, what resources can you connect them to? And I mean, Maine is huge. And I know a lot of people think Maine, they think Portland, but you're connecting with communities all across the state. Can you tell us a little bit about how do you do that? How do you make sure that the people all the way in the far Northeast feel just as supported as the folks, where you are today?
Well, so that the Northeast part is called Down East,
Oh,
Christiana.
how?
So,
No, I'm sorry. I'm from away. I don't know these things.
yes, as you mentioned, we've got a small team. There are three of us with preservation degrees on staff. And so one of them is our field services manager, and he really has all of sort of the technical experience about how buildings work,
Yeah.
specifically old buildings. And then we also have our preservation manager, who is a little bit more of a generalist, who oversees our grant making programs and our easement portfolio. But the point is, we are here and available to help any and all with their preservation needs. So whether you're a historic property owner as an individual, or a nonprofit organization, or a municipality, we try to do what we can to help out. So the easiest way for us to meet people and for people to access our resources is that the first Monday of every month, we have Monday Meetup. So it's virtual office hours from noon to 1, where we're just sitting here waiting for you to show up and ask us a question. So we're trying to make it really easy to access us. And we've had some good success with that so far. Out of those Monday meetups, we also are planning some residencies. So since you asked about the Northeast corner, AKA Down East, we'll be heading up to Machias, Pembroke, Lubec, Eastport, Calais, all a little bit later in June, to visit with some of the property owners who we already know about who need our assistance, and also to open ourselves up to people in that area for us to stop by and help them out with whatever they need.
Great. Well, and would you say, I mean, what would you say, when someone, maybe it's too early to tell, but would you say that there are some like very basic questions or inquiries that are often repeated that it's great to just let all our Old House people watching today know? I mean, step one, most people wonder, well, what's required of me? Are there any requirements as a property owner? Do I have to follow guidelines? What are some of the threshold questions you tend to field?
Yeah. So there is not as much happening in terms of regulation and ordinances here in Maine. I would say that the biggest question we get is who can do the work? Who is a qualified practitioner? So our friends over at Bagala Window Works, for example, who we always suggest that people go to with their historic window needs. I think windows are truly often a question. People want to save them, but they maybe don't work so well, and people are concerned about energy efficiency. And we point them in the right direction about how, if you get your windows restored, they truly can be almost, if not as much efficient as replacement windows, and they certainly last a lot longer. So so one of the things we do is basically do some matchmaking to help you find a roofer, to help you find someone to move your building. We answer all of those kinds of questions.
I mean, that's essential though, because I know so oftentimes people who, especially if they don't necessarily feel that they maybe have a kind of preservation-minded network or support system, they might be doing cold outreach for a contractor of some sort for some project. And if that person isn't necessarily also invested in those preservation values, they could feel pressure to, just take those windows out. I know people are telling you can restore them, but let's, so it's good that they know that they can turn to Maine preservation and hear like, hey, these X many people on these various projects, they're already going to be, 50% in on your project. They get it. They're there. But in addition to helping people find current pros, you guys are also helping to support training future pros through your fellowship program, right? I'd love to hear about that.
That's right. So every summer we welcome a handful of fellows to join us to work both with us in the office to understand nonprofit management and preservation advocacy, as well as to place them with our three trades partners. So we work again with Bagala Window Works. We work with Preservation Timber Framing and Heritage Coppersmiths. So typically these are graduate students in historic preservation, urban planning, or related trades programs. who are interested in getting some more hands-on experience.
Mhm.
And so the great thing is that, many of the folks coming out of that program, wind up out in the world really understanding, the physical requirements of what, they're saying. We as preservationists, especially the professional ones, can show up with our value systems in place and not necessarily have tested them out in the field ourselves. And so it's really great to have those the next generation coming through and saying, I've been up on that roof. I know how to do this work. I know it's
Yeah.
possible, that kind of thing.
Yeah. Well, and it's so necessary. CIRCA has so many people reach out to us regularly saying, I'm looking for this kind of professional in this geography. Can you put me in touch with someone? And I'll say, I've heard about this person, they've done good things. That's great. And then they might reach out to us and say, we appreciate the recommendation, but we're swamped. Like, we can't take on any more work. So we need more people in more places who know how to do this, because it can't just be that there's your one window person in the tri-state area that everyone's going to. We need as many people to know this is possible.
And that brings us to another sort of advocacy and policy component of this. I think we're all facing the kinds of issues around logistical delays and inflation, and so construction projects across the country, across the world, are confronted with this, but preservation projects in particular, it's really specialized. And so along with our partners in New Hampshire, Vermont, and New York, we're doing a study to understand what the training activities are that are available, anything from the kinds of wood shop and technical trades high schools that are out there, to more formal programs around timber framing, for example, to kind of survey the field, understand what's there, and then for how we can improve upon it so that we can get more people coming through that pipeline who really are qualified to do the work for our historic properties.
That's awesome. Well, and that's smart that you guys are doing it in conjunction with all those other municipalities, right? So that, what is it? Rising waters lift all boats, or whatever the saying is. You guys pool all your
rising tide.
Together. Yeah. No, thank you. You're in Maine. You would know waters, tides. I
know.
You're the expert.
Yeah. You're from South Dakota. You wouldn't.
Water? What? Well, so I'd love for you to let people know. One of the things, of course, that people I think are always obviously concerned about, and a lot of, I think, the maybe criticism from detractors of preserving a historic home is it's going to be prohibitively expensive. You're never going to be able to afford this. How could you do that? But there can be a lot of different incentives that people can apply for and work with to make it a reality and to make it more feasible. And the intention of these things is to do just that, to make it more enticing and incentivize it so the more people will do this. So could you tell us maybe some of the tools that you regularly encourage people to engage with?
Sure. So here in Maine, we have a few grant programs that are basically focused for nonprofit organizations. We also have a historic rehabilitation tax credit at the state level that pairs with the federal credit that is for income producing properties. So those are two opportunities that we regularly advise people on and direct to as they embark upon a building rehabilitation. Now, neither of those things apply to homeowners. So we are actively working on a proposal to create a homeowner rehabilitation tax credit program here in Maine.
That would be a game changer, right?
It would be an enormously transformational policy to put into place. So at the moment, for a homeowner, there are some opportunities for weatherization, which can be, can at the same simultaneously do some improvements for historic property. But again, if you're encountering a professional who's really like, oh, energy efficiency, weatherization, we got to rip out those windows and we got to insulate with spray foam. It's not exactly coming from the purpose of what we're here for. So we would like to build a new program that would really help, be targeted to historic homeowners in Maine. So right now we're working with some colleagues and partners, as well as the Maine Historic Preservation Commission, to come up with what this program would look like. There are a few other states in the country. New York State has a homeowner program. Virginia, Alabama. There are several other models to look at. So we're looking at those, trying to tailor it to the conditions here. And so we'll be continuing to refine that and talking with stakeholders. And then once we get through that process, then, you know, we'll need somebody in our legislature to introduce the bill. So, you know, we'll be looking for our champion in the legislature. And then once they introduce it, then we need our army of preservationists here in Maine to tell their representatives that they support this opportunity. So for those of you listening in, stay tuned, be part of that movement, be part of that army. We'll call you to action and you can help make this happen.
I mean, yeah, you're right. It'll be really essential. I mean, you can do all of this work, find the champion, but if people on the ground don't speak up and say, yep, we agree, this is necessary, this is what our communities need and deserve, then it could, all that work could be for naught. So it's really going to be important when the time comes for people to speak up and join with you. So so we'll have to put it in like in stories after, but we'll make sure that people can, I guess, sign up for your follow you, sign up for your e-newsletter, things like that, so they can just stay tuned and hear what's coming next.
Yep, absolutely.
Cool. Well, so the last thing I'd love to do, I mean, I know this can get really deep. So I want to just give people an overview so that they can follow up with you with their individual projects, questions, and things. But you guys are so busy. I mean, with just a lean staff, you do a lot. And I know that you have had a lot of, you know, exciting successes. And so I was wondering if you could maybe point folks to maybe a couple of projects that Maine Preservation has been involved with that they might want to follow along as well. Other ways that people can see how Maine Preservation has made a difference across the state. What things might
Sure. So one of the things that I neglected to mention in terms of resources for property owners is our easement program. And with that, that's where a property owner sort of enters into an agreement with us that for in perpetuity, we will monitor that structure for change over time. And so this is something that's available to private homeowners. It is possible that one could get a tax deduction for that if it's all done the right way. Or there's certainly the tax deduction in terms of the donation to us, but there's also maybe a tax donation or tax deduction for the component of sort of restriction that's on the property. At any rate, all that's to say is, so one of our easement properties is Sabbath Day Lake Shaker Village, which is in New Gloucester. It is the last Shaker village with surviving Shakers. And so there are 17 buildings in that easement that we review any alterations and changes to, and they are undergoing some really, really big and important changes now. So they just got some money from the National Endowment for the Humanities, a $750,000 grant to work on their herb house. Wow. And some more money. I mean, I just keep seeing their emails coming through saying they just got more and more and more. So one of the ways we participate in that is to advise and review the work that they're doing. It's a fantastic and totally special place. So I recommend following Sabbath Day Lake Shaker Village to see what they're up to.
Cool. And when we were preparing for the beginning of Preservation Month on Monday, and we were looking at some of your past projects, Greenhorns was one that I was introduced to. Can you tell us a little bit about that one?
Sure. So it's another easement property. The Oddfellows Hall or George Washington Lodge in Pembroke is an easement property, and that is actually our field services manager engaged the roofing company for the re-roofing of that building. So that's like, you know, how far we'll go to help out. And so it's a collection. The Greenhorns are very involved in agriculture and aquaculture in that part of Maine and have a lot of really interesting activities going on. They're currently fighting, I think, a new mine. So they're very activist oriented, really like focused on foodways and sustainability, but they also have an incredible collection of historic buildings. And so they are the Greenhorns in Pembroke.
Cool. And we have time for one more. If there's one more that you would love to shout out.
Well, I might have two.
Okay, because you should have two, because you can take whatever you want, but I also want you to talk about is it the East Machias? How do you say it? Machias or Machias?
East Machias.
Yeah, yes.
First Congregational Church of East Machias, and the Instagram account is Friends of East Machias, or East Machias Friends, excuse me. They are currently working to stabilize this incredible historic church in East Machias. The steeple is like about to fall down.
Oof.
And so they also miraculously raised several $100,000 this winter.
Not miraculously, really a lot of hard work, I'm sure. I'm sure they were pounding that pavement.
They were. And so they're scaffolding up. They are working to stabilize the steeple, but they have a long road ahead. There's some incredible ornate plaster work in the interior, a lot to do. There may be a TV show focused on this rehabilitation coming to the airwaves that will, follow along with their work. So I would definitely keep an eye on that one.
Okay, cool. Okay, so that one is East Machias Friends. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Okay, cool. So follow them, follow you guys. Be excited for a TV show in the works. Okay. And last but not least, you were telling me, is it the Tiller Project? Is that one that you were telling me?
Well, yeah. So they, I guess, reached out to my colleagues to say, are we really preservationists? And we said wholeheartedly, yes. I've been looking at their Instagram. They're doing an amazing job with a blog, restoring an old farmhouse. And so we want to congratulate them for their entirely voluntary efforts in this madness.
Isn't that funny though? Because it's like I think that is the idea of self-identifying as a preservationist is something that I think for a long time, like was akin to a 4-letter word, because preservation had such like a fuddy-duddy, like, trapped in the past, hesitant to change. Like it was always like cast in some kind of, against progress, against whatever. But I feel like now people are really starting to embrace that. No, that's not what understanding and embracing as like a self-identifier, that I'm a preservationist because I simply want to respect and honor what came before and help it live into the future. Right. So I love.
Well, and I think that we are a little bit traumatized and scarred from working in preservation in New York. I think in Maine, generally speaking, there is an attitude of stewardship and legacy that's really important to the sort of Yankee spirit. But I think that they may not know that the word is preservation, and that we're here doing it. So that's why I'd like to thank you for featuring us and letting them know we're here.
Oh my gosh, of course. All right. Well, everybody, I'm going to keep saying it all week and all month long. Follow Maine Preservation, because you guys are doing really important, incredible work. You need as many people supporting you along the way as possible. We are still, for the remainder of this week, doing a fundraiser from the CIRCA shop. If you purchase this week only 100% of sales of the Save All the Old Houses classic tee. I wish I had a teeny tiny one that I could have put on Jane. If I had planned ahead, I'd be better at my job.
I should have worn my sweatshirt.
Oh, alas. But 100% of sales from that particular shirt this week are going to Maine Preservation, because we are excited for all month long to be supporting the people and the organizations that are doing the work and helping old house people do the work as well. So thanks everyone for following along. If you have more questions, keep them coming. Tara and her whole team is going to be around to answer them. And I'm sure we'll have you back here at some point soon, because we've got to see more wallpaper.
So much more.
All right. Enjoy the rest of your day.
Bye. Thanks.
Bye.